Hi, this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington ttouch practitioner for animals and people. And this is another episode of Conversations with a Corgi. And this is Tristan, who is a Corgi. And he's our model today for some harnesses, because we are going to be continuing our discussion of harnesses and how to know if you have the right one for your dog. As I mentioned in an earlier episode, when I went down to our local pet store to get some different harnesses to show you their good qualities and bad qualities, the department there had 3 people in it looking for harnesses for their dogs. A lot of them had no idea what to buy. A few of them had been told by some dog trainer to get a certain kind of harness, and they had really no idea what size their dogs were even. And it's really important, if you can, bring your dog to the store and try the harnesses on. The other interesting thing that was going on there was that the Whole Dog Journal recently, in this issue, did a review of harnesses. And in fact, a couple of the comments they made on some of the harnesses was that it was difficult for people to put them on or figure them out when they got twisted. And in fact, 2 of the 3 women in that department were having a lot of trouble figuring out which way a particular harness went. It had a lot of diamond shapes in it and triangles, and they weren't sure where the dog's legs were. We had Tristan and a stuffed dog in the department to try harnesses on, and they really were struggling. So in fact, this is a legitimate concern. And I know, as I spoke of the other day, when my mother got her freedom harness for her big schnauzer, she had a little bit of a struggle to figure out how to put it on just the first time. And after that, it was easy for her. She has not had a problem putting the harness on that schnauzer since then. Although other people that walk the schnauzer, if they're feeling a little impatient or in a hurry, don't take the time to put it on, which is really not fair to the schnauzer, because she really doesn't like being walked in her head collar, and she tends to pull if she's in just a regular collar. And she's a big dog, and she's older. One of the things I didn't mention the other day is what happens when your dog is going ahead and pulling in his harness, no matter what kind of harness or collar you're using. The strain on the stifles and the hind legs, the patellas, is quite significant with a dog that's pulling. And in fact, with Tristan, when I've seen him pulling, he actually puts his back feet out to the sides and digs in and is really using his quadratus muscle, or his quads. Is in his thighs, and not his quadratus, that's in his back. Anyway, he's really using his quad muscles, which in fact get overdeveloped, and then the hamstrings, which are in the back of the legs, become underdeveloped comparatively, and that allows the patella to slide off of its track and create problems where your dog's going in for ACL surgeries and things. And then the other thing that pulling does is really put a strain on the low back from the dog leaning into the harness. Not to mention what's happening to the thoracic muscles when your dog is leaning into a harness. And then one of my very first human clients back in like 1990 was a woman who in fact had a pulling big male golden retriever, and she had tremendous injuries to her shoulder and her back from trying to hold this dog when she was walking with him. So it does no favors to your body to have a pulling dog either, and it sets up your dog and you for a whole host of health problems. So it really is important that you find a harness that fits your dog well and that does stop him from pulling, and that you work with him to teach him not to pull. One of the things that a local dog trainer here did with Tristan when we were in our puppy class was we took a whole lot of dogs in a line in the driveway, and if the dog was pulling, you simply stopped walking and waited for the dog to allow slack in the leash, and then you walked again when the dog wasn't pulling, and if he started to pull, you just stopped walking. And that actually worked fairly well for a lot of dogs in that situation. However, on a longer walk, that might not be your best option because you have to keep stopping. But it really is a good thing if you have a young dog to work with them in that way, because then they can learn that the leash is not for pulling. As I said earlier, Tristan likes to be first, and I used to walk him with Comet, who was a much bigger dog, and so Tristan was always scampering to get ahead of Comet. And Comet really liked to be the leader as well, so Tristan learned easily how to pull on whatever he was wearing. But he doesn't pull anymore unless he's really scared, right, Tris? So let me show you a couple of the harnesses that I found at the pet store. This particular harness here, it's one of these nylon mesh ones that are very popular. A lot of people with small dogs have these. In fact, I hardly see a Pomeranian anymore that's not wearing one of these. Now, I will put this on Tristan and show you some of the issues with it. One of the good things is that it Velcros so that you can easily open and close it if you have trouble with your hands. And then you just step your dog in. I don't know, you can't see this low, but I'm just putting his front paws into it. Now, one of the issues is that it has Velcro, and it's already Velcroing to all the leashes I have here. It's getting his hair caught in it, and it's a little tight on him. They didn't have that many sizes, but I don't know if you can see what that's doing to his shoulder. He looks like a guy at the beach wearing a muscle shirt. See how tight that is around his shoulder? And it's really compressing his scapula up in this area. Even if it were a bigger size, he hasn't got a lot of freedom of movement here in his shoulder. The other thing is, if I pull here and put my hands under the front and pull back, it's putting a lot of pressure just below his breastbone. And I mean really concentrated pressure. For such a wide, big harness, you wouldn't expect that unless you put your hand here and tried it. And then if I put my hand under the part on his tummy and pull back, it's not using that much pressure there, but I can also feel it shifting, and look what it's doing to his elbow now. It's really impinging on his elbow. And a lot of people think, one of my friends said it's mesh like my sports bra, but you know, they think that it's a comfortable, great harness, but it's not. Now, the other situation you have going on here is that based on how on this one, they're not all exactly like this, but this one has these two pieces that stick up. So if my dog is pulling, look what it's doing to Tristan. It's lifting him off of his front legs, especially if he's a little short guy and I'm tall. And that is not a good situation if you're walking a small dog. You want to keep his feet on the ground so that he feels secure. And many people, by doing this, they're ungrounding their dog, which will lead your dog to more yapping and more reaction to other dogs and people and things he doesn't like on your walk. So as much as these look like a fabulous thing, and they come in a pretty pink that a lot of people really like, but not me. It doesn't look good with orange corgis. But, you know, it's just really affecting his balance in a way that's not very useful. If I'm putting my dog in a piece of equipment, being who I am, who I like my dog to have as much freedom as possible, I want to make sure that equipment's working well and that it's really doing something to benefit my relationship with my dog and not interfering with it. And pulling him off balance by lifting him off his front end like this is really a bad idea, especially for a small dog like a Chihuahua or a Pomeranian or a Pekingese or a Shih Tzu or a Maltese who might already be feeling insecure because they are so little and their people are always kind of holding their breath like, oh, I don't want anything to happen to my little dog, and they frequently pick them up. And the most beneficial thing you can do for your little dog is make him a confident dog. So that way he thinks before he reacts and he doesn't go barking at a big dog that might not be under good control. And so he becomes a less appealing thing for that big dog to think about interfering with. So that's one of the harnesses here. Bisky, can you stand up again? The other thing is that with this Velcro, it's already, I've had it on Tristan 3 times, it's already coated with his fur. And if you have a long dog with silky hair, it's going to get caught in this. I don't know how well these are going to hold up over time because it's just this mesh fabric. And I do believe it's got a little bit of a cushion to it, but I do believe that this would be quite hot in the summer on a dog like Tristan who has a lot of hair. So this would not be my recommendation in any case. So another company thought they would do that type of thing one better, so they made this harness. It looks like the best of both worlds, right? You've got the mesh around the neck, and you've got the nylon around the middle of the doggy. And then you've got this piece here. Well, let's put this on Tristan, and I'll show you what it does. Oh, poor Trissy, your little ears are getting squished. Did you know you were going to be the model for all of the harnesses? I don't know if you can see already. Look at his expression. This is very uncomfortable on his neck. And as much as it's wide, it's still, when I pull back here and put my hand under here, it's still putting a lot of pressure now. Instead of below the breastbone, this one's putting a lot of pressure above the breastbone. Now what's in there? The dog's windpipe, the dog's esophagus, the larynx is in that area, which you don't want to create a problem there when your dog is a senior. So these are really sensitive structures. You might as well walk your dog in a really skinny collar as walking him in this harness. Can you turn sideways, hon, so they can see? So it looks like, you know, it's going to be soft and easy on him, but it really, because of the placement of the loop is right behind the neck piece. It's not back here. So the loop is actually putting a little more pressure on the neck. And in many ways, this actually is better than the other one in terms of how it fits here. But what's it doing on his tummy when I pull back on it? It's putting no pressure on his tummy at all, which means that all the pressure is concentrated in this area. Now they've made this piece in the front wide like a T. Check that out. So that the pressure is dispersed over a bigger area, but it's still on really sensitive parts of your dog that you do not want to have to pay the very expensive surgeries for repairing these areas. If your dog is a serious puller, this is really, look what it's doing to Tristan. It's pulling back on his neck. It's as much as hanging him. Now, an interesting thing to me about this one is that they did not choose to put this hook back here. Because if it's further back, it actually has less pressure on him. Notice also it's got a lot of wiggle in the front here, which is going to make this T thing in the front shift, and then it's going to put pressure on the sides of his chest as well, which isn't that great. I also don't like the placement of this hook on the side. See how this is right by his armpit where this big piece of plastic is? That means his elbow, another area to protect on your dog, is going to be hitting this every time he trots. It does a similar thing to the other one in that it's pulling your dog up. It's pulling him a little back too, and the more it pulls back, the more it's going to encourage him to lean into it and pull, just like a husky in the Iditarod. So this one is even worse than the other one. I would not use this on my dog, Bisky, because I want him to be comfortable and safe and uninjured. And I sure don't like the way this plastic thing is hitting him in his elbow. Let's take that one off, Biss. Where's your other one? So one that I use on him sometimes, I have all these blue harnesses in a pile here, is a step-in harness. Years ago, when we were originally working with dogs with Tellington T-Touch, step-in harnesses are what we recommended, and they were, in fact, one of the harnesses that were easily available for people, and they have many good qualities. Tris, can you step into your step-in harness? One of their not-so-good qualities is if you have a prancing dog, it's a little bit hard to get their front feet into the step-in harness. So, let's buckle this around you, Tristan. Now with this one, it's hitting him in a part of his chest that is pretty bony, so nothing is being choked or smashed. All of his soft tissue is safe. It is doing one thing that the other harness did, which is one reason I don't love it for every walk, is that it does pull up a little, which ungrounds him a little bit. But the front piece stays much more secure than either of those other two harnesses. And it does put a little pressure behind his elbow. See how tight this is around here on him? He doesn't have the freedom of movement in his shoulder. Check this out. See, he can walk in this, but it doesn't give him the freedom of movement that his freedom harness gives him. And I'll throw that on him quickly, even though we talked about it already, just to show you the difference in the fit. Now this is an early step-in harness that we use for T-Touch. It has two hooks in the back and it closes right between them. And then in the front, this one has a little loop. I don't know, Trissy, I know you're standing on a table and a pillow. Ooh. But right here in the front, honey, can you show them? See See this little metal clip, which was great because in the early days, before we had other ways to work with our dogs, we had the possibility of attaching the leash on these two places, which did really help a lot of dogs that were pulling. The problem was, before Robin came up with the brilliant idea of having these sliding handles that you can take off and put on every leash, this slides. You had to be able to manage your two hands or have the leash between your fingers on one hand. Let's show them, Biss. And if you weren't a person like me who's been a lifelong horsewoman, you know, I can hold this with one hand and pull up on this one or that one just with my finger to give him signals that are clear and precise. I would have no chance of doing that with either of those two mesh harnesses I just showed you. And this, I don't like how this sticks up right on top of his spine. He's a dog with quite a waddle in his walk, and I don't know that rubbing his spine back and forth like this when he's trotting down the road is really a healthy thing. And so I only use this harness if the weather's really bad because it is super easy to clean. I can just wipe it off with a wet towel, usually after wiping the dog off, and most of the road stuff comes off of it. This one's really old, much older than Tristan. I think this one might be 20 years old, and look how it's holding up really well. It's a great option if you have no other options. And in fact, I encourage one of the people in the store, because they didn't have any good harnesses, to try one of these, and I showed her how to buy a particular leash. The one she was buying didn't have this hook in the front, so I suggested she get a double-ended snap because she had a bigger dog and hook it on the piece of nylon that was in the front of the harness she got. She's going to get back to me. Hopefully that works. So what Jack is wearing here, and we're going to put this on Tristan in a minute, is the ttouch harness. Now, working with ttouch, we've looked at all kinds of harnesses over the years, seen what worked, didn't work, and then someone, Robin, I believe, had the intelligence to develop one of our own harnesses so that we could incorporate the things we like and get rid of the things we don't like in a harness for a dog. Let's hope this is adjusted to your size. Tristan usually has a little blue one. Why is this twisting this? Was Jack wearing this twisted? And I must say, one thing with these harnesses is that you do have to be pretty good at sorting out things to make sure everything's flat on them, because they can get a bit tangled. But to that end, they also come apart 100 ways so that it is easier to see how to put them on. So, oh, this isn't adjusted for you, Tris. Where is the blue one? Well, we'll get that in a minute. All right, let me just show you quickly his Freedom harness to compare with the step-in he just had on. And the Freedom harness is another one that some people find difficult to put on, but I always say if my mom can do it, anyone can. So let's just look at this one. He still has a little bit, sliding back feet. He still has a little bit of harness too close to his elbows, especially when he's leaning like this on the table. But this is soft velveteen, so it's not going to hurt his elbow like that other harness. And instead of pulling up here, because it has a sliding martingale, it's pulling back a little. And then in the front, we also have another place to clip the leash, because they do recommend with these that you have the leash attached in two places. And in fact, the Freedom harnesses come with a leash. And as far as I know, you can only get them on their website. So, can you back up, hon? There. So, he is wearing this sideways Biss with the two attachments here and here. This is one of the things that really, really helped him stop pulling. And it was before the ttouch harness was invented. So this has been a really good benefit for Tristan to have this Freedom harness. As I said before, this strap is going lower on a lot of them now. And even on him, this is a little bit, his scapula ends like pretty much under this piece. So he's okay with it. But this is coming lower and lower and interfering with the dog's leg motion, which is why we went and developed the ttouch harness. And I am going to have to make this one fit, even though it's kind of big, to show you how it works, because I don't know where his little blue one is in this pile of harnesses here. All right, Tris. All right, that goes on your back. That goes on your front. And as you can see, it is a bit of a tangle when you take it completely apart, but most harnesses are. And seeing how quickly my mom adjusted to using the Freedom harness, I can see that it won't take anybody very long to figure out how to use these. Can you stand up, hon? There's a lot of business going underneath of you. And I can't see where this is going. Yep, you can see the problem with a harness that is not easy to see how to put on. Plus this is, what did I do to it, Tristan? I'm going to have to leave for a second and run and get the other one. Tristan, sing some music. Stuffed Corgi in it. We're back. It was on the table, having fallen with the stuffed Corgi. All right, so this one should be adjusted to fit him. There you go, Tristan. What do you think? It's a little tight here. I need to let this out a bit. Let's see the other side. So one of the things I love about the ttouch harness is that it's got a lot of places to adjust it. Can you stand up over here and show them how pretty you are? Come on. All right, see how this one's different? It comes around his middle, and this is pretty tight here. I have to loosen it quite a bit. And it has a way to do that on both sides so that you don't have the harness sitting sideways. A lot of them you can only adjust. Oh, your leg's not through. There's the problem. A lot of them you can only adjust on one side on these hooks. So this one's great because you can keep it balanced because it adjusts, it's got an adjuster on both sides. So he has a nice amount of room in there now. And then the same with the one on the front. It's got one hook on this side to adjust the length of that. And it doesn't have any parts of the harness sitting on top of the spine that are hard plastic. It's just got a few little snaps here. So it's got a hook here, a hook on the other side, a hook on the top, and then you can also attach the leash to this round piece here. Where's the green one? This one's bigger so you can see. So it's got all these places. This goes towards the dog's head. You can attach on this side, or in the center. And because it has all these places for attachment, you have many more possibilities about how to work with your dog. If your dog is on one side and you are on the side, have your dog on one side, you can have the leash attached here. Or you can attach it on the other side. We use wraps a lot. You can attach your wraps to this. There's many possibilities with this. That's why we made it this way, so that we can adapt what we're doing to any dog's needs that we're working with. So it also has the hook in the front, this little loop here. Sorry, Tristan, he says, Mommy, that's a little bit tall. But look at the amazing thing this harness does for his shoulders. Notice he has complete freedom of movement here. Nothing is impinging his scapula. And because of the way the harness is made, it's sitting far enough behind his elbow, and this is really soft nylon, so that his elbow won't be hurt at all. And if I pull here on the middle hook, it's not really putting that much pressure. Notice what it's doing? See how it's shifting his weight back? It's not lifting him up, and if I put my hand under here, it's not hurting him, because the pressure of the harness, because of the way it's structured, is not putting any pressure on any one point on his chest. And it's not putting a strong pressure and distributing it like that other harness, that blue one I had. Yeah, they're all blue, like the mesh one. It's really just rebalancing the dog. When I pull back, it shifts his weight back, so it doesn't need to put pressure on his chest, because it is shifting his entire balance. Therefore, it's really going to help with a dog that pulls. These harnesses are wonderful, and I have a client with a really big bouncy Labrador mix, and they just had a bit of a struggle to find one in his size, so they ended up getting one from the British office. But you can call the ttouch office and get these harnesses. I think they're, I don't know, in the $25, $30 range, but you will not need another harness. And if your dog is young and is going to change shape, I mean, Tristan can wear this size or the green size. On this size, which is a small, he's pretty much out all the way. You could have a little bigger dog in this. He weighs about 19 pounds depending on his diet. And so this harness fits him really well. The next size up, this green one, is a medium. And this would fit a lot of beagles, Westies, Scotties, medium-sized dogs, bigger cockers. And then my client dog needed the large, and they also come in an extra large. And he wanted his particular color. As I mentioned the other day, the color that you put on your dog makes a big difference. And sometimes it's not clear to you why a dog wants to be in a particular color. But we have really noticed different behavior with different colors, especially with the wraps, because they're so easy to put on and off of your dog. And we'll talk more about wraps in a couple of weeks. Tristan has always worn blue. My prior Corgi wore purple, and I found, like just today with this green harness, trying to put this on him, even though it's too big for him, and it's not adjusted to his size because Jack was wearing it. He was pretty quiet with it, but he was perfectly still when I put this one on, because he knows this one's his. He walks in it all the time, but it is his color, which is blue. So that, and it's mine too. So it's maybe my love of blue has been translated to my dog to make him appreciate the color more than he was innately going to. A lot of Corgis go in green, but the colors have different meanings, and when I'm talking more about Reiki, we'll talk about the chakras and the correspondence between the colors and the chakras in the body. But it really does matter what color you put on your dog. If the dog doesn't like the color, you may see a behavior that's not ideal. So we'll just ask Tristan so you can see. I have 3 different colors here. I have green, and I have purple, and I have blue. We'll just see which color he likes. It's put this one in the mix too, Biss. All right, which one do you want? Like that one or the green one? See, he's picking the blue one. Now, he wears all these things, so don't just say he's picking the color that he walks in. And if I don't have very many things that are in colors like red and yellow and orange, because I think I have one thing that's yellow for my Corgis. I bought a little beautiful marigold colored collar I think I have somewhere in the house. Anyway, and they all have liked it, but I think the blue is good for them. It looks nice with their orange coat, and I like it. So pick a color that looks good on your dog and a color that you like. I have a friend with kind of a cream colored cockapoo, and she loves pink, and the dog, since she was a puppy, has had everything around her pink. And so of course the dog is gravitating to pink things because that's what she's been exposed to. And that may be true for your dog. But for instance, you might think red is a fiery color full of energy, but I've seen like a big black Labrador in many classes be wearing red harnesses and equipment. And red is associated with grounding and with the root chakra. And so that bouncy Labrador that you think red is going to feed his fire actually was really calming for him and grounded him. So do consider the colors when you're looking to buy things for your dog, and think about how you feel about the color as well. And I will show you another time how to use a pendulum to determine what colors your dog likes. So again, my favorite harness, I mean, I love the Freedom harness. I was definitely one of the many people saying how wonderful it was for years, and it sure helped my mom Schnauzer. And I think my mom could figure out how to put these on. You know, she had a nice raspberry one for her dog, but this one really just, it's the most beneficial for your dog's body. He's not going to pull in this. If he does pull, it's pulling him back. And if I don't pull steadily on the leash and just give him little signals, it's going to keep rebalancing, keep rebalancing, keep rebalancing, keep rebalancing. Whereas some of those other harnesses are pulling up and ungrounding him. So I'm pulling him up, I'm ungrounding, 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 and that's going to make my very upset and anxious dog much worse, more anxious, more upset. Whereas if I'm pulling back, it's asking him to come back into his body and to come back over his hind legs instead of leaning forward. So I can't recommend these harnesses enough. It's not just that I'm a ttouch practitioner and I love them because they're a ttouch item. We've made some things in the past that were less than ideal, and we've managed to work with them and make them better. And a lot of thought and a lot of people's ideas have gone into making this a really good harness for your dog. I like it too because if you have a dog with a big chest, and a lot of dogs now are bred with bigger chests, but like a bulldog or French bulldog or a Corgi or a big Basset, you know, there's a lot of chest here, and you want to keep it unrestricted so that they can walk. A lot of dogs carry, well, most dogs carry most of their weight over their front legs. So restricting the front legs is actually doing your dog really a disservice. So this harness gives a lot of room for movement and mobility in the whole front end. Can we show off your shoulder again, Tris? He's been working out for this, haven't you? See how it's not interfering with the movement in the shoulder at all. Now this is his little injured shoulder, so he doesn't have a tremendous mobility here like he does on the other side. But, you know, he can trot. It's not hitting him under the armpit at all, actually. His rolled skin is going right over that when he brings his shoulder back. And he can turn his head, and he's got no problems at all. And it really does feel light on him. It's totally different from those mesh ones I showed you earlier. So the important thing with harnesses is to make sure you find one that fits your dog and that you can work with in a color that you and your dog like. And then from there, we always recommend a leash with 2 snaps so that you can hook it in the front and then hook it in the back. If I were just taking him for a regular walk, I would use the middle hook. But if I were going to be working with him in the yard over the confidence course or something, I would hook it on the side that's closest to me. The other thing is when I do hook it on the side with this ttouch harness, it's not shifting the harness over to the side. It keeps it pretty steady. The dog is rolling to the side, but the harness isn't shifting. It just fits better because of the way it's made, and it's so simple. It's just 2 straps, one around the front, one around the middle, and you would not think that it could be so hard to put 2 straps on your dog in a way that's balanced and effective, but clearly there's about 40 harnesses on the market, so it is something that's not so easy to do. But with these 2 attachments on him, he can trot along, and I can just say steady, and it's going to bring him back into his body, because the way the harness works, it's constantly pushing the dog towards me, back into his body, instead of having him lean ahead of me. And if I don't pull against him, he won't pull against me, which is another whole issue with walking with your dog. If I want to, I can just snap this around and just attach it on the back piece and walk him like this. I do not recommend attaching it only on the front. Let's see what happens when we do that. You know, with that initial harness I showed you, so remember how crooked it went when I had it on the front? This T-Touch harness is so better constructed in terms of its mechanics. Even if I pull to the side, the harness is staying straight. Tristan's like, I don't like this part. And it's not pulling him out of balance as much as that one. I would definitely not recommend walking with just an attachment on the front of your dog with any harness. It's just not good for his balance, and if he's out of balance physically, he's going to be out of balance emotionally, and it's going to be a much more difficult time for you trying to enjoy your walk with your dog. So Tris, what do you think? We should take a walk. It's a nice day, and it's going to be raining for the next several days, so we should take our T-Touch harness out and take a little walk. What do you think? Okay, well, if you have any other questions about harnesses, please feel free to write to me about what you have. Send me a picture of your dog in the harness. And as I said, I don't have the name of it yet, but I will ask my sister. One woman apparently makes the harnesses that have the little skirts on them, which actually fit pretty well. And if you've got a small dog that doesn't pull and you like to dress them in cute outfits, these little dress harnesses are actually really well made. They are far better in how they work than any of these mesh ones I showed you. And even that step-in harness with the little antenna that sticks up on the back, they're even made better than that. And because she makes them by hand, she could probably, I think they actually have a little loop in the front in fabric, but you could easily have her attach a little piece of metal like this if you want to attach your dog in 2 places. And they are really cute. They come in beautiful colors, they have little flowers on them, and they are remarkably good harnesses. So one of the things to keep in mind when you're looking for a harness is, does it fit your dog? Is it the right harness for you? If you've got a pulling dog, you need to really get a harness that's going to help him not pull. If you've got a cute little dog that needs to be wearing a little dress when you go out and you just want a harness that's not going to hurt her, then by all means, I will give you the information on where to find those cute little harnesses. But I really love the T-Touch harness. I've had this one for a year now, and I've really had a good time taking Tristan out in it. It just had a bath, so it's nice and sparkly clean. And my client dog, his has a little British flag on it because he ended up buying it from the office in England. They come in a variety of colors. I don't have a sample of all of them. I know they come in black, red, green, and blue. I think they come in a few more colors too. And they are manufactured according to Whole Dog Journal. They thought they weren't made that well. They thought some of it was not double stitched and things, but I don't perceive any problems with this harness in terms of its stitching and things like that coming out. All the equipment I have for my dogs has been through the washing machine a bunch of times because, you know, he's a low rider and it does get dirty on the bottom. And it's all held up really well. So, and I don't let my dog chew on his equipment because he's not usually wearing it unless it falls on the floor, and even then he's not going to eat it. So make sure your harness fits your dog, make sure it's in a good color, and make sure you know how to use it properly. And I really recommend attaching the leash in 2 places when you're walking with a dog that has any sort of reactivity problems, or who has been a puller in the past, or who you are working with to help him not be pulling anymore. So if you have, again, specific questions, write to me on this page, Sally Morgan PTCST on Facebook. Just another reminder, I will be in East Haddam, Connecticut on Sunday at the Equine Wellness Fair, where I'll be doing a demonstration of craniosacral therapy and T-touch with an evaluation with a labyrinth, hopefully, with a horse there. And I'll be at my booth selling equipment and my book and some other things. And it will be a great opportunity to meet some of you who are further away. It's like an hour and a half down there for me. Or if you have dogs, it's a horse event, but you're welcome to come. I don't know if dogs are allowed. It hasn't said that anywhere. Certainly this dog's coming. So, right? He's afraid of horses, though. He'll be hiding in his box under my table, probably, unless he's sitting with me. So please come down to that event, and in 2 weeks I will be at a library near Longmeadow, Mass, signing books and doing a talk about my book. So please stay tuned for that. We are continuing to work on the website and build some pages. It turns out the links page has been lost, so people need links to many of my colleagues and products. So we will get that back up. And I hope you have a great day. It's a beautiful day to take a walk with your dog and check out some harnesses and take your harnesses. Almost everyone has 2 or 3 laying around the house. Put them on your dog and see how they fit. Put your hand under the front and the bottom when you pull on them. Pull on the side, pull up, pull back, and see what it's doing to your dog. It might change your opinion about how much you like the harness that you have. So this is Sally Morgan, craniosacral therapist, physical therapist, and Tellington T-touch practitioner for animals and people. And this is Tristan, who is a Corgi. And this is an episode of Conversations with a Corgi, where we've been talking about harnesses. I will not be on tomorrow because I have to go to my job as an educator. And then the next day, I will be at a Women's Business Association breakfast meeting at 7 in the morning, and it gets out around 10. So I can't do a live from there because people are doing speeches and things. So I will just post it when I come home from that meeting, probably around 10 on Thursday. And we're going to continue to look at some equipment. We have a variety of head collars to talk about and some other things. So we will continue our journey through the possible equipment that you can use with your dog. Thanks for joining us today. Bye-bye.